Mr. Chairman.
John O'Naylor.
Thank you.
Now put.
Annette King, and I will warn Potter Williams that she's had her full calls.
Yes, well, Mr. Chairman, this is my first speech on this bill, and first of all, can I say that I welcome any improvement that can be afforded to families living in hardship. So I say to the government, thank you for recognising that there is a problem. But then I'll go on to say that it's only partial recognition of that problem. And I think it's beholden on a government to listen to the very best advice that it can receive when making policy. And there has been some extremely good advice proffered to this government on the state of families and children living in hardship in this country. And I'd reference the Children's Commissioner. The Children's Commissioner is a very highly regarded man. He was chosen by this government to be the Children's Commissioner. He has decades of experience as a paediatrician. He was chosen because of his experience, and we supported the appointment of Dr. Russell Wills as the Children's Commissioner. He is independent, probably more independent than many Children's Commissioners we've had in the past. And he has been advising the government on a number of issues. And he has certainly made it clear to this government that the changes they are doing in this bill means there'll be small average gains for a family. It will not incentivise parents to leave a benefit, given the high cost of quality childcare as a barrier for many families entering employment. So I wonder why the government hasn't listened to some of those who live and work in the community every day with children who live in hardship. And I think it really gets the fundamental issue here is the problem that the government is having grappling with the meaning of hardship. They have danced on the head of a pin on the meaning of poverty and hardship for years now. Poverty is a word that is not allowed to be said. You can use any other word, but don't use poverty. So the word that is used is hardship. And these families are living in hardship. And from the minister's own figures, we are told that children living in poverty, in other words, in hardship, has increased to 305,000 children. But this package of the member's bill, the minister's bill, only assists 18,000 children, families with children, a smidgen of the 305,000 children living in poverty. And I wonder why the government doesn't want to have a comprehensive approach to lift all children out of poverty/hardship. Why has it decided to choose such a small number? Do those other children not count when it comes to this bill? And so when I look at what the increase is going to be, how much do these families, these 18,000 families get? It's around $23.10 per family per week. Not parent, not per child, but per family. So it could be a family with 6 kids, or it could be a family with 1. And I know that the minister is a very practical woman. She does her own shopping. She prepares her own meals. And she must know that a block of cheese in New Zealand costs $10. A dozen eggs is $4.86. 2 litres of milk is close to $5. And 2 litres of petrol is close to $4. So when I add that up, that's what a family can look forward to, the increase that's being provided to a family. And the minister will know that's not going to make a huge difference to a family depending on its size. Maybe it would make a difference if you were a single person. But if you're a family with children, and particularly if you've got some growing teenagers and they happen to be boys, then you know that they'd probably eat the block of cheese in a couple of days, and their loaf of bread probably would last, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Chairman.
Annie King,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And those of us who have had teenagers know that a loaf of bread we're lucky after school to last one day. So I have watched and listened as the government, in speech after speech, have crowed about how they are the first government in 40 years to increase benefits. But I say that they have got, yes, it's true, but they've got very selective memories. The member, John O'Naylor, very selective memories, and maybe I could remind you.
Order.
First government, remind the member, the first government in 40 years to cut them, to cut the benefit. Some of us can remember cutting the benefit, and this increase in the benefit doesn't even restore it to what it was. So when the crowing is finished, just take a hard look at the fact that the benefits were cut by the very same government. And we set about to help restore some of that through working for families, something that the government called communism by stealth, but haven't got rid of. We went about supporting families with income-related rents and a number of other issues to help lift those families out of poverty. And they crow about how they lifted the benefits, the very benefits that they cut. So I say to the members opposite, get that in the head, remember that, because that is the truth. I have to say that I support the supplementary order paper put up by my colleague Carmel Sepuloni. And this is her supplementary order paper, whereby she is saying that she'd like to ensure, by deleting clauses 4, 6 and 7 and 8, which would ensure that parents of children under 5 are able to care for them full-time if appropriate, and affordable early childhood education is not available to them all. Now, many members opposite live in provincial and rural New Zealand, and full-time, early, affordable and appropriate early childhood education is not always available. And why would we not choose to have parents, whether it is a sole father or a sole parent, a sole mother, looking after their children in those first 5 years? Isn't that the gold standard that we'd all like? How many of us had our mums at home for the first 5 years of our life? Everybody in this room, mostly, I would think. Then there were others of us, myself included, as a sole parent, that went back to work when my daughter was 3 years old. I would have liked to have had 5 years at home, wasn't possible. But that, to me, is the gold standard, that you give children the best start in life by giving as much care as possible by their parent, whether it is one or two parents. And so I wonder why the Minister wouldn't accept what I think is a very good suggestion in this supplementary order paper. If there is not affordable and appropriate early childhood education available, ensuring that parents of children under 5 can stay at home and look after them and care for them. You see, I've always thought of that as real work. It's not a nice to have or something that's just done. It is real work and valuable work, unpaid work, work that if we had to pay for, we couldn't afford. So I say to the Minister, why not consider this supplementary order paper? I also think that the definition, it's also in this supplementary order paper, that the definition of part-time work should be 15 hours a week. Not 20 hours a week, 15 hours a week. Because who is going to be at home when they get home from school at 3 o'clock in the afternoon? And then if they're not home, the criticism of them not caring for their children, not taking enough account of their children's needs. Why not 15 hours a week? It's a great start for them. And as their children get older and they can move into more employment because they've got a foot in the door, well and good. So I say to the Minister, why this 20 hours a week? If the Minister looks at reality out there and what really happens to families, the Minister would know that 20 hours a week makes it incredibly difficult to be a parent, particularly a parent on your own, a good parent doing the best job possible, but also being required to go to work.